Hello. We're here. We're together. Woohoo! Yes. So excited, you guys. It's amazing. I have missed you. I have missed this monthly time together. I'm Kay Warren, in case you never met me before. This is just an incredible treat to be back together. Wow, this is a huge season of transition and for our church and for us personally. And, my emotions are pretty well staying in check, but I walked in and saw this group and it was like, oh, this makes me emotional. This is a really tender-hearted time. And to be together again is just absolutely incredible. The challenges of the last 2 years have challenged my faith. I don't know if anybody else had their faith challenged in the last couple years? Yeah, thank you. It's just been rough. We've all had questions for God, questions for our church, questions for each other. It's just been a time of sifting and upheaval and uncertainty. And for me, because I can feel anxious pretty quickly. I like control. I like my plans. I like things to go in certain ways. And when life doesn't cooperate with my plan or things are uncertainty, that anxiety can really grow in me. And it has forced me in new ways to dig deeper into my relationship with God. I just came back just this minute from some of the staff wives, ministers' wives here at Saddleback gather annually down at Rancho Capistrano for a retreat. And our theme this year was rooted. And the verse that was our theme was Colossians 2, 6, and 7. I want to read this to you because I feel like that this is what I pray for you as well. For all of us, that we would be rooted in our faith and rooted in each other. If I can think where Colossians is, thank you very much. I really do know. Okay, Colossians 2, 6, and 7 says, "And now, just as you have accepted Christ Jesus as your Lord, you must continue to live in obedience to him. Let your roots grow down into him and draw up nourishment from him, so you will grow in faith, strong and vigorous in the truth that you were taught, and let your lives overflow with thanksgiving for all that he has done." And so Paul, the Apostle Paul, writes that, and he says, I want you to be rooted in your faith, and I want you to be established and built up in it. And Paul combines biology with architecture. He says, I want your roots, think of, a few years ago, we went to Mexico on vacation, our family vacation, and there was this tree, you guys, the grandkids called it the majestronic tree, because it was a combination of majestic, magnificent, and amazing. This tree was the biggest tree I've ever seen in my life, and you looked at it and knew that it had to have roots that went way down deep. And so that became sort of a model, a picture in my mind of the way that I want my life and my faith to be. That the roots of my life, my spiritual roots, my roots in community, my roots in Jesus are so deep that I can flourish like that majestronic tree. But also, Paul says, but you need to be established and built up. And then you get the picture of like building a layer cake. I love German chocolate cakes. So there's, a layer of this, and then a layer of frosting, and then a layer of filling, and a layer of cake. And that our spiritual lives are to have this two-directional pull, if you will. We're to send our roots deep into God and his love and his goodness and his trustworthiness and his faithfulness. And then we are day by day to let our faith be built up layer by layer by layer by layer by layer, so that we become a picture of that incredible tree, tall and broad and wide, but also deep. And so these last 2 years have been an intentional effort on my part for myself to make sure that in my time with God and the times that my questions and the mysteries of what has all happened in the last year and the conflict and the uncertainty and sometimes the panic and the anxiety and the hard times and the bleakness of people. Some of you have lost jobs, or you've changed jobs, or you live in different places. So much has happened. So how do we keep from being shaken? A lot of people, we have been shaken in the last 2 years. And so that intentionality, I want to just start as we're beginning again with the Hope for Mental Health Community, that you intentionally make sure that you are sending your spiritual roots deep into God's love, and that you let him that you get to know him in such a way that your faith begins to kind of stack on top of each other, layer by layer by layer, as you know him and grow in him. I was thinking also of Psalm 46, 1 to 3 and verse 8 as kind of the encouragement for us as we have this restart. And it is this: God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. So we will not fear, even if earthquakes come and the mountains crumble into the sea. Let the oceans roar and foam. Let the mountains tremble as the waters surge. The Lord Almighty, verse 7, is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. And so my prayer for you is that, yes, the world will continue to change. It will. Every day, life changes. Circumstances change. We go through ups and downs. We go through relapses. We go through times that we're feeling very stable and pretty strong, and then the next day it feels like somebody yanked the rug out from underneath us. And life will continue to be that because that seems to be life here. But even if earthquakes come, relapses happen, the mountains crumble into the sea, maybe you don't get the insurance to cover a treatment that you really needed to, let the oceans roar, let hard times come, let good times come, let the mountains tremble, let some relationship shift. Here's where I place my faith. Here's where my roots can grow. With this knowledge, the Lord Almighty is here among us, and the God of Israel is our fortress. Let me just pray for us as we begin. God, you have been our faithful God through these last 2 years. In more ways than we can count, we're here. We're here. We're standing. We're sitting. We're present. You have carried us through these 2 years. Yes, there have been some losses. There have been some upheavals. There have been some changes. There have been some deaths. People that we loved. People that we cared deeply about. Father, the landscape around us looks different, and sometimes it has felt as though the ground beneath our feet was shaking harder than we could, and it knocked us to the ground. We acknowledge that, Lord. These have been tough times. You have been faithful to us. Your presence has never left us. Your goodness has never changed. And while there are so many things, Lord, that I don't understand, some things remain very mysterious to me. What I do know is that you are here among us. And so today, as we regather, we come back to say, Lord, your love for us is so strong. Your love for us, your hands formed and shaped us. Some of us live with mental health challenges. Some of us love someone who has a mental health challenge. Some of us are both. We both live with a mental health challenge ourselves, and we love someone else who has a mental health challenge. What we can say for absolute certain is that you are here among us today. That's our hope. That's our hope. You are our hope. God, I pray that you would, in these next months and the next years, you would begin to rebuild those ties and bonds between us, that there would be the ability to share freely of the struggles and the victories, the places where we hurt, the places where we need hope. And if we're in a place where we can offer hope to somebody else, God, I pray that we will do it freely, with open hearts. Thank you for every person today. Thank you for every person who is here. We acclaim again that you are good and that you can be trusted and that you have good things ahead for us in the Hope for Mental Health community. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So I want you to take... thank you. I want you to take about 10 minutes, and you may have chatted with the people at your table when you were eating lunch. Keep doing that, but there's also some questions on the table just to maybe direct the conversation a little bit more, just to kind of share your life a little beneath the surface if you feel comfortable doing that. And then when that time is up, Pastor Todd will come back and lead us in the rest of our program. Love you guys. So glad you're here.
All right. Well, this is amazing. It's so good to see everybody out here talking and chatting and all that. Oh, thank you. I don't know what I did. Okay. Well, welcome back, guys. This is, again, just so amazing to be able to be in each other's presence, right? How many of you had the chance, like while we were in all of those shutdowns and all that, to at least view some of our online stuff with the mental health community? Oh, that's amazing. Well, isn't that neat that we have technology that at least kind of kept us together, right? Nothing's the same as being face-to-face, though. And so, again, I want to thank Kay and her team for putting all of that together, right, for us during that time. When you think of the world-class folks that we got to see through that process, it is such a blessing. Well, I'm Pastor Todd Olthoff. I'm pastor of pastoral care and in the church side of the mental health initiative, and it's great to be with you. A little bit about myself. I'm a professional as well, so I'm a pastor, but I also have my MFT, so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist as well. So I've got that side of it, and then I've got kind of the school of life related to mental health issues in my family. So I've got 3 boys. 2 of my boys are twins. They're on the autism spectrum. So we had that whole process. They're doing really well. In fact, one of them's on staff here, which is really kind of cool. And then I also have a daughter that we adopted as an adult who had just a horrific childhood and has complex PTSD, which means that life is like this depending on, where those triggers hit and stuff like that. So kind of have both sides, right? As a professional, I get to do it over here and you think, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. And then you get into life, you go, oh my gosh, I need somebody else to help me, right? So that's just the reality of it. So I'm glad to be with you here. What I thought I'd do today is we're going to talk a little bit about vision, about where we are in the mental health initiative here at Saddleback Church and where we want to go so that you guys can see that and even help plug into that because this is a group effort. Some of the things we know from what we've experienced through the pandemic are pretty amazing. Everybody's talking about mental health now, aren't they? Right? Before we were kind of talking about it in here and all of that, and now all of a sudden the whole world is talking about it because it's such a big thing. What I thought I'd do is just give you some statistics. And again, we don't have all the statistics from what happened through the pandemic. I think we're going to have long-term studies that are going to show us all of the things that happened. But I just wanted to give you a few things that I could find online. So since our last mental health community, here's some of the stats. Rates of anxiety and depression have increased 25%, according to the World Health Organization. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. They were high already. We were dealing with anxiety and depression like crazy. Now they're 25% more than we had before. That's like 6 times what was normally out there. I want you to think about how that was. And so think about a shutdown and someone who's struggling with anxiety or somebody who's struggling with depression. And some of you may have actually been in that boat, I think, one way or the other. And so we have a lot of things that are coming out of the end of this, not to mention even just the grief and loss that so many people have experienced and so many of us have experienced, even with maybe jobs or our schedules, our life, right? We're putting our lives back together. This is great, right? But this is new. Think about that. Us gathering together is new when that was the way we did things. And so things have changed. The other thing we know is that 19.5% roughly of adults in California are experiencing a mental illness of some kind. Not just a mental health issue, but mental illness. That's almost 20%. And that's just in the state of California. That's not globally or nationwide. The other thing we know, too, that's out there is that 9.23% of adults in California reported a substance use disorder. Right? So you think about 10% of the population of California, that's a lot of people. And as we know, that's probably not just a substance use disorder because people medicated with so many different things during the pandemic because what do you do with all these things that are happening and this emotional stuff when you have nowhere to go or no one to talk to? It's really difficult, right? We know a lot of these things have added up. One of the things for us here at Saddleback, just so you guys know, looking back at 2021, I went back and took all of the different stats that we track in 2021 and did the average. And what I found was, it's just fascinating, the average is 50% of our calls into Saddleback for help. And we get calls from all over the place. We get them locally, we get them around the world, we get them in all different places. 50% of our calls were mental health related. Okay, now that's not just sort of like relationships. It's not relationship issues. That's a separate category. These are actual mental health related situations. Anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff, right? So we can see that that's mounted, and that's gone up. We were maybe somewhere around 20 to 30% before the pandemic. Now we're at 50. So we can see this tidal wave of things coming, and so it's just awesome to know that here at Saddleback, right, that with Kay and Rick, we saw a lot of this stuff as a big need. And the foundations that were built here already are going to serve us well moving forward. I had the privilege of being in Atlanta this past week at a mental health collective with people from all over the country who want to work on mental health. We had people there from, the educational sector, we had professionals, we had pastors, we had all those different sectors. And one of the biggest things they talked about was the importance of helping the church care for those that have mental health issues, right? And how does the church even handle that? And I want to tell you guys this because I just want you to know that I was both inspired and sad about the fact that we're ahead of the game in so many ways with the care that we have here. And I'm going to show you some of the things that we do and just a wonderful team of people that have put this together. I was really thankful for that. But then I was also sad, right? Because we have a lot more that we want to do and a lot more we want to go. And we're ahead. That means a lot of people are way behind. And I think about people in those communities that can't get the care that they need. And we're blessed that we at least have what we have, which, again, we want to do way more than we're doing now. But I was inspired and sad at the same time by that. So what I thought we'd do is understand mental health a little bit. Let's look at a definition of mental health. Let's just go back to some of those roots as we look at where we're going. And this comes from mentalhealth.gov. It says mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Now think about that definition for a minute. That covers a lot, right? Covers just about everything you can think of in terms of how we live. What we know then is that our mental health affects how we feel, right? Again, we talk about not just, mood disorders, because those are there, but how we feel about life, how we feel about situations. So a lot of emotions come up. How many of you have been extra emotional because of all the stuff we've been through and want to admit it, right? Some of you are like, yeah, I'm not going to raise my hand. Not going to make me cry. Not going to happen. Yeah, right? I mean, we've all been a little more emotional, right? I mean, you cry. I cry now at certain movies where I would never think of crying before. So that's just how that works, right? So our emotions are a big part of it. It also affects how we think. And so when you think about, mental illness, a lot of times that's how we think about it. We think of it's how we process things and how we think about things. But our emotions, we know our brain is made up of our emotions and it's made up of our thoughts, right? Both of those things are present in our brain. We like to say things like right brain and left brain, which is kind of fun. I don't think our brain dissects exactly that way. But that's true, right? Those are a part of our mental processes. As a result of that, right, it affects how we choose. It affects the choices we make in life. If I've got a certain view of things or my emotions are taking off, some of the things we learned over the pandemic is that the cortex part of my brain shrinks, right? And I don't think because my body says you can't think, you just got to react and move. And so if I react out of my emotions, right, I'll change sometimes my thoughts to fit my emotions. I'll make choices that are more reactions rather than responses, right? Now, I those of us who may not be in a place of mental illness do that anyway, right? And so, of course, when you go through the process of having your whole world turned upside down, it's hard to see the way to make the choices that I need to make. But choices can be made. It affects how we act, right? What we actually do after we've made the choice. And then it impacts our relationships. And it's definitely impacted by our history. And I think that part is really important, too, for us to understand. That there's usually a history and a story behind everybody who struggles with a mental illness or any kind of mental health issue. And it's important for us to understand what those stories are. Because those stories are unique and they're very important. Because they allow us to have compassion and empathy for one another, right? And so we have stories. And I gave you a little bit about my family. There's stories behind that. And I could tell you stories. And my family could tell you stories about me, right? You might not want to listen to me talk. No. But we've all had those moments, right? And so the stories behind all of that is so important. And we want to have that compassion for people. Now, what's interesting is that Jesus understood mental health. We see this in scriptures. We have that definition of everything that was covered. And I think one of the coolest places to look at this is in the Great Commandment. Great part about the Great Commandment is that's one of the pillars on which Saddleback is founded. And this is what Jesus said when he was asked about what are the greatest commandments that to obey. He said, "You must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all your soul, and all of your mind, and all of your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself." Pretty neat that summary covers that entire definition that comes from the mentalhealth.gov website, right? A secular website, and here Jesus already said this. and how important that is in our lives. Way back in scriptures, right? God knows, and he knows what we need. And one of the things is our entire counseling program and model is built off of this passage of scripture, right? It's helping us in all these aspects of who we are. All right, so a couple things of understanding then based on mental health is we all have mental health. Many times when we talk about mental health, we automatically think mental illness. And that puts us in this like sort of category where we're dealing just with that. But it's important to understand that every single human being alive has mental health. Sometimes I'm more healthy. Sometimes I might be in crisis mode. It just depends on what happens to me in life. And the globe, right, got into some kind of crisis mode, depending on how it worked for you all at one time, which is why we're seeing some of the things that we're seeing right now. For other people, they had good mental health because like a vacation to them. I don't know. For some people, it worked that way. For all the rest of us, it was all in some middle space in between. The other thing to understand is that our mental health is a part of our spiritual health. We can't separate those two things. Our mental health is a part of our spiritual health. I can't separate my spiritual growth from how I'm doing with my mental health. Because remember, my mental health involves my feelings, my thoughts, my choices, my actions, all the things that I do. Does that make sense? It's really important that we capture that. And also to understand that mental health operates on a continuum, right? It's on a continuum of care. On the next slide there, you can see kind of a mental health continuum, where we move from healthy to maybe a place of reacting, right? Where we have certain things that come up for us. We might move into a crisis where we have significant impairment in some functional way. And then we can also have mental illness, right? Where we may have a more clinical disorder where we need other types of treatments and interventions. These aren't static, right? This continuum isn't static. It's not like I just get to live in healthy all the time. There are times where I might be reacting. And I can prove the point, right? How many have kids? Yeah, right? I thought I was really patient until I had kids, right? Then I realized, well, I guess I got to work on that a little more, right? Then when we added some of the stuff with my daughter, right, with her complex PTSD, I started realizing, wow, a lot of things I worked on before, I'm moving into crisis in some moments, right? Because my own stuff's coming up, and now I'm worried about what's happening with her even more than I'm sort of worried about what's happening for myself. You ever been in that space? Trying to manage another human being, right, when they're struggling and they're not thinking straight? Boy, it's tough stuff. And so we can move in and out of this continuum. So it's important as we talk about mental health that we realize it functions in this way. It's on a continuum. Sometimes I'm doing well and I'm in healthy. Sometimes I might be in a reacting space. But if we understand that about one another and that that's a human thing, we don't have to worry about all the stigma stuff that's surrounding mental health, right? Because we're all really in the same boat. It just depends on what's happening for us and where we're at, okay? All right, so what I want to share with you is how we're looking at responding as a church. And so at Saddleback, Pastor Rick likes funnels and things like that, right? You guys have circles and funnels, right? So I figure, hey, why not use what's there? It works. It's not broke. Let's use it. So we have basically a process that we're looking at here. You can see we have our mental health community at the top, moving through mental health classes, through groups, and mental health care. And I'm going to cover each of those so you can understand that this is our strategy of how we want to respond. We want to combine these things together in a way where we're helping people. And there are things we do in the church, and there are things that we partner with, resources on the outside as well. So at the top there, with our mental health community, right, we're going to have this monthly mental health community for education, for community, for support, and for finding out about places where you can serve. Okay, that's what we've been doing. We did it online. Now we get to do it in person. Really important, and this is the case, we need you. We need everybody, right? This is not something that my team, who are amazing, Kay's amazing, all that, we do what we can, but we can't do it all. And so we do it with the help of all of you. And I'll show you some of the ways that we're getting that done, but it's really exciting stuff. It's great when you see the kingdom of God at work, when people are using their gifts. One of the things we're looking at doing as well, and the second piece there, is we're looking at other mental health classes. We're in the process of putting together a mental health 101 through 401. How many of you have taken class? All right, yeah, some of you have taken, awesome, that's great. Others of you are going, yeah, that's on my list, I'm going to get there. You know, that's great, you know. Take the mental health ones first, then you get, no, I'm teasing, okay. So, no, but we're working on a process of developing that so that everybody understands what we're after, right? What it looks like to be in community. Again, when you think about someone who's struggling with any kind of mental health issue or a mental illness, understand this, that it takes more faith to cling to God in the midst of that than it does when life's going right, right? And so many times we might skew to going, well, you don't have enough faith. Really? I beg to differ. I think it's the other way around. I think it's the other way around, right? It takes more faith to cling to God when your life isn't working the way you want it to and things don't make sense. So we're going to talk about that kind of in a 101. In a 201, we'll talk about how we view the whole person and how we work through all of those kinds of things, our model for that. 301, what we do at the church and how to get involved. And then 401 is what's available in the community and how we partner. There are a lot of cool things happening out there in the community, and I can't wait for you to see all this stuff. We've got plans to introduce you to all of that as we go forward. So we're doing that. And then we'll look at doing other seminars and educational kinds of things and events and maybe even conferences. If you remember, we did a mental health conference before. We've also done workshops on things like how do you navigate a mental health crisis, things like that. We want to put more of those things out there for folks. The beauty is what we've learned is we have technology now, which allows us to reach more people. And we can do it both here and online so people can grab it and get a hold of it. All right. The bottom two things there in our strategy is we have mental health support groups for those that are living with a mental illness as well as those that are families of those who might have a mental illness. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today, some of the things we have available and some of the things we're building in the process of that. We have a number of support groups that we have as well out there, and so it's just amazing. And all of those support groups have come from people who have had their own pain, have learned and grown, and want to share that with somebody else. Isn't that cool? Again, like Scripture says, right, we comfort others with the comfort we've received. And it's neat that we have folks that are giving back. And then finally, we have our mental health care down there, where we have direct care that we do here as a church. I want to show you some of that. And we have wraparound care strategy that we're looking at, where maybe we can't take care of everything that's happening for someone here, but as they're being cared for in maybe some community resources, we have other things that we can do to care for the individual as they go through that process. And again, we're doing that in partnership with local resources as well, right? So we're going to do what we do well and interface with those outside of here that do what they do well as well. So, all right, one more graphic. You can tell I like pictures, so here's another picture for you. This is all of the different care things that we offer here at Saddleback so far, okay? So we have crisis response, where we have what's called our minister of the day. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when I told you all those calls, we get calls that come into the church, and we have people who walk into the church with their crisis. They have a crisis in the moment. It could be anything from, they're struggling with something related to maybe their depression or anxiety. They're struggling with a relationship issue. It could even be suicidal ideation in the moment, and they're coming to the church because they need help. So we cover all of those different things, and we have our pastors get involved in that. We're also looking at expanding that to having volunteers help us with it because it's growing, right? The need is there. And so I just want to show you, Deanna, are you here somewhere? Deanna runs our Minister of the Day over there on staff. So Deanna, you can stand up. You don't have to wait. There you go. There she is. And Deanna is a superstar because imagine dealing with crisis type stuff every day, and that's your job. Right? So pray for her and our pastoral staff as well, especially pray for Deanna because she's in it every day. So that's our crisis part. We have a comfort component to what we do here at Saddleback. We have our meals ministry. I don't know if you guys knew we had that. So we have meals ministry that volunteers provide meals for those that need it, that can't get out or need help. Hospital visitation. We have memorials that we do here, and we also have a prayer ministry. And so, Liz, are you here? I want Liz to stand up. Wherever you are, Liz, wave. Liz is way in the back. She's shy, so everybody's got to turn all the way around to see Liz. And Kara, where are you, Kara? Kara runs our prayer ministry. There she is in the back there. We have an amazing, amazing prayer team, folks, that the prayers are powerful. How many of you have used, folks to pray for you? If you haven't, man, find those people that just love to pray and intercede, because I can tell you the impact in my own life personally has been incredible when you invite the Lord's presence into what you're wrestling with. Next, we have Connect. We do things like premarital counseling. We do weddings. We do support groups. Celebrate Recovery is a great partner with us, and we're in our mental health family groups that we're looking at launching as well. So I just want to see who's here. I know Chris is gone, but Rex, are you here somewhere? Where's Rex? There's Rex. Rex runs our support groups, and including our mental health support groups. So I wanted to point him out. Chris, who does our premarital and some other things, isn't here. On the counsel side, we have church counseling that we do. We've got somewhere around, we had about 225, I think, before the pandemic. People are coming back. I think we got about 170 volunteer counselors that work and do church counseling. Again, that doesn't mean we're handling clinical issues. So just so you know, people go, oh, free counseling, and so then you send someone who has a clinical issue that needs help, and we have to say, hey, we're not equipped for that, and refer. So just again, if you have your friends that are in that state, it's hard to disappoint somebody when they think they can get in, but we're partnering with other resources. We get them there, but I just want to let you know that our counseling works within its sphere of what it can handle. It handles a lot. But we don't do clinical therapy, right? That's the difference. I want to make sure we're clear on that. And so I know Jennifer's around here somewhere. She does supervision for all of our counseling. She runs the whole ministry. Everybody loves her. She's around here somewhere. Jennifer, you want to say hi? Stand up. Okay, there she is. All right. That's Jennifer. So no, don't hunt her down and ask her about your friends and all that stuff. Okay, so go through regular stuff. We're looking at putting together some mental health guides that will help us in the process. That's still something we're building. We do work with pre-licensed therapists, right? Because we can get care there where the cost isn't as much of an issue. We have different community referrals, so we vet different therapists in the area to make sure they fit kind of our beliefs and standards and things like that. So we have referrals that we give out. And we also have a mediation and reconciliation ministry that is just forming. So folks that maybe have conflict related to, things about, that are issue related as opposed to something that might need ongoing care. And so we have those things happening as well. So as you can see, we got a lot of things that we're working on. I'm trying to think, did I miss anybody on my team? I'm trying to think. I know Dave isn't here. Chris isn't here. So there's a few folks. Megan, where's Megan for CR? There she is, Megan right there. Stand up. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So Celebrate Recovery, I mean, my goodness, with all the folks that are helped. We work in partnership on that, which is amazing. So we're able to just share all those resources. So what happens is we can provide all the care. So when CR's got them there, we provide other care pieces for folks that are wrestling with whatever recovery issue they have. And again, it's not just substance issues. There's all kinds of other issues that Celebrate Recovery handles for us. So it's an incredible ministry. So as you can see, these are all of the different things that we have. We want to expand some of these things. We want to keep moving these things forward. But just wanted to show you that we have a strategy for care, and we're very intentional about it, and we're still building. And so as you'll see, there's opportunities for you guys to help us out in building that. So in our strategy, right, we have the continuum there. I just wanted to show you this extra line at the bottom. We have things that are related to self-care that people can do, where we can just educate and people can take stuff and then, kind of figure it out for themselves. But as you move further along that continuum, more and more we need help. And so at the very far end of the continuum is where professional care comes in. And so I want you to understand that the church provides the care that we do best, and then we partner with community resources for any care we can't provide. And it really is a partnership. And in our next month's mental health community, we'll be able to talk about some of those community partnerships. One really important one that has come up in Orange County that is just amazing. I mean, it's literally, if you ever heard of Be Well, it's literally what we would, I think, build as Saddleback Church if we could build something like that. So it really is an amazing thing, and we'll get to talk about that a little bit more next month, and talk about how those things fit together. So a few things I just wanted to point out in terms of ways that you can get involved, okay, both for yourself or if you wanted to serve. We have, again, our mental health community. We have volunteers here that help us, help do all the setup, help greet and all that. If you're volunteering here for mental health community, can you stand up and just wave so we can see who you are? Yeah. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. Again, all this stuff happens because of all the help. We have our counselor training that we've put together. During the pandemic, we had to shift to moving that online. And so we rewrote all of the material. So if you've taken it in the past, we've rewritten it. We have a model that we put together that you'll be introduced to in our mental health 101 through 401 classes on how we view the individual from both a biblical perspective as well as a holistic perspective of who we are, because all of that we see in scriptures. And so, again, that whole process, the beauty of it is you watch the videos ahead of time, so you don't have to sit through a lecture like this and, your rear end's hurting or you want to take a nap or whatever it is. And, unfortunately, you do have to listen to me a few times on there, but that's okay. So we go through that, and then we do a Zoom groups online where you can then wrestle with case studies and things like that. And we also have a live version as well if you like to do the face-to-face version. But the beauty of that is it's even though it's a 27-week training, you're able to kind of jump into the ones you need to jump into based on your schedule, right? So if you're a Tuesday Zoom and you go, oh shoot, I had an appointment that day, you could still jump into the Wednesday Zoom. So schedule isn't as big of an issue as it might have been in the past. But our counselor training is amazing. We have support groups that we have, again, that you can get involved in. Like I said, we have our mental health support groups that we have. We're going to talk about some of those today. We're looking at even doing some workshops. Our bipolar workshop will be starting up sometime probably in the fall. We're working on sort of patterning that out to do other issues as well, such as anxiety, depression, things like that. So you can be in a support group and then also get education through whatever your specific issue is that you're dealing with. Those are things that we're looking at building out as well. So you can be a part of that process. Again, Celebrate Recovery. Again, going through CR. How many of you have gone through CR? I just want to see out there. Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. So you guys know, those of you with your hands up know how amazing that is. Some of you with 2 hands up. It's like, yeah, all right, like praising Jesus on that whole thing. I'm with you. So again, just an amazing, amazing, amazing resource that we have that's all over the world. And so being able to take advantage of that and being a part of that. We have retreats and events that we do that you could be a part of, that you could attend. We have our Breathe Retreat, which is coming up, and that's for parents of children that have mental illness of some kind, a mental health issue. And so we have that. Kay and her team puts that on. It's amazing. We pivoted and did it online during COVID. I had the honor of being a part of that and just hearing everybody's stories and seeing everybody. We're doing it live now, and so we're going back to doing it in person. I think it's next weekend, right? It's literally next weekend that we're doing it out at the ranch, out at Rancho Capistrano. So again, just an amazing opportunity there, both to be a part of it or to serve. We have our Belladonna Event. I don't know if you guys know what that's all about, but we do for Mother's Day. There are many moms who are grieving. Mother's Day isn't a happy time for them. And so we have an event that we do for them related to Mother's Day. We do it on Mother's Day weekend where they can, moms can come together and grieve a loss, right? Whether that's the loss of a child, right? Loss of a parent, any of those losses that are there. And we have an entire grief ministry that we're building out right now because there's a lot of loss in this world. People don't know how to grieve very well. In fact, there's a lot of delayed grief that's happened. I know we lost a team member during COVID, and we had to wait like a whole year or so before we could actually grieve together because of all the different shutdowns and things like that. So there's a lot of those opportunities that are out there with classes and such. Again, we have our prayer ministry. And like I said, I know we talk about prayer ministry being such an important thing, foundational. It's vital. If you've ever been in a crisis situation, I've got some go-to people that when I'm in crisis, I just text and say, this is what I need. And I can tell you, I feel the change. I feel the Spirit of God moving. There's wisdom that happens in the midst of that. And so our prayer ministry is just amazing. If you want to be a part of that, that would be great. We would love to have you be a part of that. Different family support type of things that we're looking at doing related to helping people get connected to one another and in groups. And we're even working on a future care chaplain type of a role, which will be a volunteer role that would help us with things like crisis, as well as working with memorials and being with families in grief and all kinds of other things that come up that are needed for care. So we got a lot of things we want to do, right? You can see there's a lot of things on the menu. I'm sure there are other things that we'll dream up. We would love to have you be a part of that. Even on your tables, we've got kind of a little list there, like for mental health community. If you want to have more information or you want to be a part of helping serve, you can just put your name on there, your contact information, and just the area you're interested in. If you're interested in serving, put serve on it. If you're interested in being a part of it, you can put your name on there and we can get you information too. And just leave that on the middle of the table and we'll pick that up later because we really want to partner with you because this group is a special group, right, for us. We're so glad that you're here because one way or another we've been impacted by this issue of mental health. And so for us to be available to care for one another but also to care for others is huge, and it's a big vision that we want to take on. So big stuff, right? Big vision? Yeah, there's a lot happening. So we, by the grace of God, we'll get there in one form or another and in the way He wants us to get there, right? Because we want to do that prayerfully. So Thank you again so much for being here today. Well, I think now we'll go into our time of question and answer, Q&A. So our panel, we've got DJ and Christy, if you guys want to come on up, and we will interview you guys related to our mental health groups. I'm going to move this over here for a second.
Have one of the middle spots there, DJ.
Yes, I see that.
Hi, Christy.
The hot spots.
So glad you're here.
Oh, and you got the mic too, so there you go. You're ready to go.
We're all mic'd up now.
Before we start that, you have your card, that you might have written a question on. It could be related to some of the things that Pastor Todd shared, or it could be in relation to what we're going to be talking about. It could be completely unrelated to any of that. But if you're ready for it, Kathleen, you want to just identify yourself. So if you've got a question ready, and Kathleen can pick it up from you, or she'll be circling around and can bring those to us as we go.
Yep,
So.
Perfect. All right, so we have DJ and Christy here, and so why don't you guys just tell us a little bit about yourself and how mental health has impacted your life?
Well, my name is DJ Chuang. I live in Aliso Viejo, and mental health had become a part of my life because of a diagnosis 20 years ago. So I've been managing and recovering from, or managing bipolar disorder for 20 years. I had a crisis 5 years ago, and that landed me in the hospital, inpatient care, and had to do some dramatic adjustments in my lifestyle. And since that time, I've recovered about a year later, and the past 4 years has been a good season, and I'm grateful to be here. I want to acknowledge my family for walking with me, my wife Rochelle and Jeremiah. Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
And Jeremiah is actually on staff here at Saddleback Church, so sometimes people don't realize the connection, so I wanted to make that. And then we'll talk a bit more about the involvement. I've been a part of the support groups as well.
Yeah. All right, well, Christy, tell us about yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Christy Weissman, and so we were drafted into the mental health world by our oldest son. So my husband and I have 4 kids, and it actually started very young with him. He was about 2 when we noticed something was going on. Didn't know what it was. Finally, around age 11, he was diagnosed, and then as the years went on, he was kind of diagnosed with more and more, and then he had his first psychotic break when he was in his early 20s. So, and then along with that, substance use disorder came in, and that's it. There's been many hospitalizations and dual diagnosis facilities and homelessness and living with us, and it's a journey. So we've been on it for a long time now.
Yeah, there's a lot in between that.
Yeah,
there's just a little bit, that's for sure.
So, and then so then we were. It was a long time. We kind of did it alone, and then we discovered a family grace group in Carlsbad just about 7 years ago, and that really kind of changed everything. It was great.
That's great. Oh, thanks for sharing that, you guys. Thanks. Well, tell us a little bit about your support groups. Tell us about the groups that you're running, being able to share from your experience.
Yeah, so last September, we were invited by the mental health ministry team to apply and host some small support groups using the Grace Alliance curriculum. So we started 2 groups for Family Grace, one in person and one online, and then one online group for Living Grace. And I got to be the admin fielding all the signups. We have just over 100 since that time.
Wow.
And we've had...
He's really organized. You've been a godsend.
I'm glad you like the spreadsheet. My son helps.
Yeah, there you go.
And we've had 1 round already. It's a 16-week curriculum. People can come in and go whenever they like, depending on the group leader. We like to have an open chair so that it's always accessible. Our group runs Thursday nights, and it's it's an amazingly clear, simple yet powerful curriculum. And having had to care for my own mental health, I've tried different things, but this one has just been so accessible and so powerful. I'm grateful for my co-host, Jill, who's here with our community,
Thanks,
as
Jill.
well as several from our support group that are here as well, Robin and Dean. And just been a powerful experience to connect with people on Zoom, and God met us there, and I know He'll meet us in person as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How for you, Christy?
So my husband Eric and I started facilitating family grace groups about 6 years ago. So we've done it many times, and it's been so helpful for us. You know, just being in this journey, you really feel like you're all alone, and the isolation really feeds the hopelessness. So these groups have been kind of a lifeline for us, and we've met just amazing people that are family now, and it's been such an honor and a privilege to be able to start one here at Lake Forest. I'm so excited, and it's great because it's very like you were saying, it's simple but profound. It's doable and it's topical, so that, you know, due to the nature of what we're dealing with, often you can't come every week, and that's okay because you didn't miss out on anything. You're going to be able to just jump right back in, and then we just kind of roll over and just kind of keep it continued. So if you did miss it, you can catch it next time, and each time we go over the same stuff, you still can apply it differently because you're at a different place in your life. So my husband Eric and then Aaron co-leads it with us here at the Lake Forest Group on Thursdays, and it's been super exciting. Thanks, Kay.
Well, you know, I think most of you know our story with our son Matthew, who was also very young when he began to receive different mental health diagnoses. And I just didn't know. There weren't support groups that I knew of. We felt very alone. We felt like everybody else had families where they didn't have those same struggles. People thought that some of our struggles were parenting issues. Like if we were better parents, that our son wouldn't have the struggles that he had. And so I think we felt judged a lot. I think we felt alone. I read, I tried to ask questions, but I just didn't seem to have enough information, and was so isolating, especially as his illness progressed. And so it has just been a passion for years and years to make sure that we have here at Saddleback some mental health support groups both for people living with mental health challenges and for family members. Because like Christy said, and DJ, I'm not sure that you said that. Maybe you said it and I didn't hear it, but it was just how alone you felt, how isolated you felt, and how different you felt with your family. And so to be able to start offering these Grace Alliance support groups, I just can't tell you how it's amazing. And they offer hope. They offer the sense of belonging. And I want you all to share some of that. DJ, I mean, have you been in a support group before like this? And so what's been the benefit of that to you personally?
Well, as I've struggled with my self-care, I could use all the help I could get. And having a safe place is the most valuable thing about a support group and this community. I was sharing at my table that it's so wonderful to come here on the monthly basis because I can let my guard down and feel safe. People are not here judging us. We're in this together. Yeah. But when you're in pretty much your under 100 plus other hours of the week, you're in places where you have to be quite guarded. And that's not a comfortable way to use your energy. And then secondly, being in a safe place, and you know you're not alone, because the hardest part of the struggle is feeling if you would be judged, and sometimes you are, And secondly, you're alone in your struggle because no one else understands.
Yeah.
And so that's what support groups in this community really provides, that medicine and therapy and other good things are necessary and helpful, but these are so unique to the church. I'm so glad Saddleback provides that.
Christy, have you been in a support group at all before the Family Grace group that was secular? In other words, didn't have a faith component? Or is the faith component? Because I really love to know what, maybe, DJ, if you've been in support groups before that didn't have a faith component. Maybe all the ones you've been in have had a faith component. How about you, Christy?
Not really. We did do a class, like the NAMI Family to Family.
Which is excellent.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend it to everybody. But as far as support groups, I didn't, because I really wanted something that was going to provide some hope. And I mean, when we found out about it, I've shared before, we were living in San Juan Capistrano, and the closest one was in Carlsbad, and we drove there every single week. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it changed our lives. Mm-hmm. So, and I just can't recommend it enough. Not that it's perfect, and it's not that, you can't just tie this up with a bow and everything's fine, but it just provides a lot of hope. And then just also meeting with people each week and knowing that you can connect with people who get it makes all the difference, because that's what we are missing in our lives and our day-to-day lives, because nobody really gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just one other thing I was going to say about that is some of the support that we did get didn't have a faith component to it. And while there was great maybe psychoeducation, maybe we got accurate information about different diagnoses or medication, or maybe a progression of illness or whatever, we got accurate information. To not actually have our faith as part of the conversation always made us feel like there was an entire segment of who we were as a family that wasn't addressed. And so that's partly why it's been so important to me, not just that we have support groups, but that there's support groups that also have faith, that integrate faith into it, because we're whole beings. It's not like, well, there's my health over here and then here's my spiritual life. It's that our faith and our spiritual life, as Pastor Todd said, every part of us comes together. And so when we're talking about our mental health, we're talking about our spiritual health, we're talking about our physical health, that it all needs to be together, so that we're not segmenting or isolating or fragmenting parts of ourselves. But you should be able to bring your whole self to church. And that's what the mental health support groups that we're talking about that have a faith-based component, why I believe in that so strongly.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. I mean, for us, even in our groups growing up, we had even just having one other couple in there who had a son that was autistic. Just, again, combining our faith journey together with real life was so important, because really, if you think about it, this is real life. And I think Jesus wants to walk with us in real life, not in some dressed up life in the corner or some little piece of my life. It's all of it. And we bring everything to him. And I agree, to have this faith-based component to it is amazing. And it's, like I said, it was great for us. We didn't have curricula, but just even being in community together was really important. So this is exciting that we have curricula that goes along with it. That's really good stuff.
Can I just say something really quick about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
What's been really, really helpful to a lot of people in our groups has been the fact that it's a healthy understanding of church, the Bible, and mental health.
Yeah.
And it takes away the shame, because a lot of churches are just not educated.
That's a good point.
And so there's a lot of stigma that goes with it, and there's shame, just like you were saying, you're not good enough parents, or you don't have enough faith, or it's just their sin nature and all that kind of stuff. And so it helped a lot, and it freed us of a huge burden that we felt for a long time.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So why would you encourage, if somebody came up to you afterwards and said, is this for me? Is this something that I should consider, or what would you say? I know what you're going to say, but what would you say? Just say it for us.
Sign here.
Sign up.
Yeah, our group is a welcome place, and if you have a diagnosis, or even if you don't, or you probably know someone that struggles with mental health, and as it's been mentioned that through this COVID season, pretty much all of us have experienced some sense of stress and depression, grief, and anxiety. And these are very practical lessons every week that help us to learn life skills, that help us to experience this life reset that we're just heard this weekend from Pastor Rick, that it's a great place to practice some of those skills to become healthier.
What are some of the topics that are covered in this curriculum?
Yeah.
Last week we just talked about replacing negative thinking. Let's see. Well, there's 16 topics. They're all different. And we've done one that's on breathing exercises. There was one that was muscle relaxation. So again, very practical. And then we also had some that are very specific to mental health. So one lesson was actually getting educated about medication, and then what's the role of psychology, and then a bunch of others like that. So it's very well-rounded,
yeah.
and covers all those different aspects of life. So it's holistic.
That's awesome.
How about the family curriculum? How is that different or the same?
A lot of them are the same, which is kind of nice because if you have a family member going through it and then a loved one, it's from a different perspective, but then they can maybe get together and share and talk about it and have some dialogue. A lot of it also, though, is more specific to things that maybe we might be dealing with as family members and helping us kind of look through a different lens. So there's things on communication, whole health renewal, just the whole holistic. It's not just about the medication. Grieving and grace, which is my most loved and dreaded chapter, but it's it's because you are grieving. It's a kind of a constant state of grief of who you thought they were going to be, or what their life was going to be. There's cycles and triggers, boundaries, all that stuff.
Sounds amazing.
Lots of stuff.
Sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
And then,
stuff.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying good stuff. I mean,
Well, so I was talking to Joy just right before we started, and something she said reminded me of somebody who was coming to one of our groups in Carlsbad years ago, and then wants to start coming to the new ones, and she was only going to support a friend. And I took a picture of, that's why I brought my phone, because she sent me this text, and it was, show it to you here. It was, she said, "Family Grace really changed my perspective on mental health and addiction, but more importantly, it changed how I saw the Bible in this new light. I hope my daughter will find some peace and freedom in the Family Grace that I did. And it's so ironic that I only reluctantly went to support my friends so she wouldn't have to attend alone, and in turn, it helped me. God is so good."
Ah, that's great.
that's neat.
That's great.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Because we all, being a parent with kids who struggle with that, we have triggers too. We think all this stuff is with that. I've been triggered. We have triggers too. And so to be able to process that together is amazing. That's awesome.
So do we have enough leaders, Pastor Todd?
No, we don't. We
Hint,
could all use a
hint.
lot more leaders.
Hint, hint.
That was a good hint. Yeah, we would love to have more leaders because obviously the need is there. I mean, and you guys life change is happening in those groups, right? I mean, just from you got any stories from your own group there, DJ?
Well, it's changed us as co-hosts as well. So as Jill joined with us, I've visibly noticed how she's come alive in the 16 weeks, and she's said it herself that she's found a new purpose, and she's really energized, and she's really looking forward to the next season of mental health ministry. And the other part I would add is how clear and simple the curriculum is. There's not a lot of psychological jargon. And so in my own self-care and learning to navigate this whole world of healthcare, there's so much jargon and academic words, and you gotta have a degree or something. But this curriculum just put it simple, clear, yet powerful, and life-changing every week. So that's been phenomenal. And Jill, I have a little background. Jill didn't have background, but we were able to get trained up and host a group without much effort. That's
awesome. So there you go. See, it's pretty simple, easy to do. We can use you for sure. And we got a great team. So I mean, that's good. That's good to hear how that's been happening. It's so cool to hear the life change stories too, people's lives. And when we work on those things, it works on us as well. Any of you have ever done that? You signed up for a ministry, you think you're serving somebody else, and all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, I got stuff that's happening for me here. I got a better story than that person actually in terms of what God's done in my life. So it is a blessing to feel the Lord use you in that way, and the connection with Jesus is amazing as we serve and go through that process. So yes, we could absolutely use more. It's been a blessing to be able to get these things up and running, something we've wanted to do for a while. And isn't that cool? We could do it online and we could do it in person. So there's multiple options for how we can make those groups happen. I would thank you guys so much for stepping up and helping make that happen, and all the lives that you've blessed as a result. I know, Christy, you've been doing it for longer. Didn't you do a group a little longer than we?
Yeah, we've been doing it, my husband and I have been doing it for probably 6 years or so. But I mean, I have to be honest, it's kind of selfish because it's really therapeutic for us. We get so much out of it. So, yeah, and it's been really helpful for us, just seeing that God is using our pain for his purpose and helping others, just with the same comfort that he's given us. It's been really rewarding, and it's been really great to see all the changes that have been happening, just the stigma busters, it's really helping. It's really helping, and more people talk about it, then the more it gets destigmatized, and people are actually proud. It's kind of cool that they're going to a mental health support group now.
Yeah, boy, isn't that something? Isn't that something, the community that builds? What I love too about it is the nature of it being open. So these groups, again, because of the way the material is built, you can drop in whenever you want, and people, I mean, you've been doing it for 6 years. And that's not a new group every time. This isn't like something you go through just for education. It's the community, and the engagement is such an important thing. So it's kind of like an open group that you can jump into, and the topics are repeatable because life changes, right? So you hit those topics from different angles as you go through life. So
it's nice too that it does kind of go, you don't have to sign up and it's going to be starting in 3 months, and it's going to be for however many weeks. It's you're in a crisis right now, or you just found out about it now, and you need to be in community now, and you can. So yeah, that's really helpful too.
Yeah, that is. And that's an important part of our mental health support group strategy, because you got to have those front doors people can go into. Because, when you're in a crisis or something's going on, waiting to get into something, that's an issue. I mean, we have to wait sometimes to get in to see somebody, right? And that, we know how hard that is. So being able to have this there as we build out some of those other things where you can deal specifically with whatever the issue is that you're dealing with. Like I said, we have our bipolar workshop. We're building some things like that. It's nice to have those things together. So whereas some of the workshops have to have a start and end date because it's material based, right? This one has more of that open feel, which is why we like it so much. So yeah. And Kay's been talking about this for a long time, by the way. So I'm glad we were able to have that happen. I think you have the endorsement on the material, so you knew about it way before we even started doing it. A long time. So, anyways, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, any other questions you could think of, or Eddie?
Maybe does Kathleen have?
Kathleen has the questions.
Come on up, Kathleen.
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the community, actually.
Thanks, Joy.
When there's Q&A from the audience.
See what shows up. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
I'm just you want to shoot those 3 down to Pastor Todd, and we will just.
All right, split them in half.
Yeah. This is one on the, I'm going to ask this one to you, Todd. It says, I've been through the church counselor program in the past. I did not apply. Am I able to access the online course to freshen up and catch any changes?
Yes, that is something that you could do. If you want, put your information on there, and we'll talk about we'll talk about that. If you've taken it in the past, the model, the first 9 sessions that we do in the first module related to the model is probably what the catch-up would be. So, just write your name down there somewhere, for whoever you are out there, and we'll connect with you and help you figure that out. So,
sure.
Yep.
You want to take one?
Sure. Let's see. Hang on. I got. Okay. How important is our spiritual health to our mental health? And how can you practice this? That's a great question. I can have, do you guys have any thoughts on that? I'll let you guys share first, and then I'll...
Go ahead, DJ.
Pastors kind of have to go first.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to try to do it in reverse, but okay, that's... You got me on that one. Yeah, our spiritual health is very important to our mental health. In fact, like I said earlier, they're linked. So think about this for a minute. How can we have a close relationship with Jesus if we're not including our mental health? Think about what Paul talked about in scriptures, right? Everything was the battle for the mind. And what we know related to the mind is we know actually a lot more about the mind now than we've known before. And that involves the emotional pieces of us as well as our thought process, right? And the things that are going on. And so our engagement with Christ is super important. So our spiritual health is an important piece of the puzzle, as well as our mental health being an important piece of the spiritual puzzle, right? Because we're whole beings. And when we look at how we engage the Lord, Jesus wants us to bring everything to Him. So when we're struggling, right? Any of you have been struggling in any kind of crisis. If you've ever been in that space, right? How many of you have been in that place where you got closer to Jesus because of the crisis or the struggle? Right? I know that's true in my life as well, right? Well, why is that the case? Well, it's because, right, in those moments, we reach out to the Lord. We're more willing to hear. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of stubborn. I like the way I do things, right? But when I'm in a place where my things aren't working, I'm more open to what the Lord's going to do. And it takes a lot of faith in those moments, right, to cling to Jesus, cling to the Lord when things aren't going the way you want them to go. And that's why I said that earlier. Those who struggle imagine struggling with a mental health issue daily. Ongoing, right? And wondering, God, why won't you fix this or take this away from me? And yet they're still clinging to God. There's a lot of lessons in faith that we can learn through that process. Instead, we do the opposite. What's wrong with your faith? Well, there's nothing wrong with your faith. They're actually pursuing God in the midst of suffering, which some of us, what do we do in suffering, right? We complain to God all the time, right? Or we do our own thing. So yes, the link is super, super, super important. Our spiritual health and mental health, to me, they go hand in hand. I don't think you can separate those unless you don't have a spiritual belief system, right? Which people in the world have. But when we have those two things together, I think they're vital.
Yeah,
So.
I would. Sorry, DJ, you were going to say.
No,
Go
no,
ahead. I'd rather hear from
yeah.
you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as we learn about neurology and how our brain works, actually our emotions work faster than our mental part. And one of the things I've been wrestling with is terminology mental health doesn't really capture it because there's so much more going on emotionally behind the mental. And because we're a holistic being, you can't really separate spiritual, mental, or emotional. I mean, where does my mental part start and end? I mean, they're all intricately connected. I'm one person, and I'm all emotional, all mental, and all spiritual. And it's unfortunate that the systems that we have only worked on the biological or only worked on the psychological. Trying to work on the mental with some emotional is just fragmented.
Right.
And no wonder we're struggling more than we need to because we haven't embraced the whole.
Yep.
And so being at a place like this where we have a healthy, holistic perspective, it's much more helpful.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we may have a topic for one of our mental health forums right here, so it's a good one.
This one says, any hope for changes with conservatorship laws for mental health? There are no barriers for developmentally disabled or Alzheimer's, and parents with adult children with mental illness cannot petition for conservatorship. And I know little bits about that, but probably not as much as I would like to be able to answer that really well. I mean, we looked into conservatorship at some points with Matthew and did not end up doing it because in the end it didn't feel like it was going to be a productive choice for us. So I haven't looked at it in several years, but I know that it's been in the news recently with Britney Spears and others, and I'm not trying to pull into the entertainment world like all that. I'm just saying that her particular circumstance brought that into the conversation, I think, a lot lately, and that would be a really good topic for one of our communities. Maybe you know more about that, or there may be even somebody here who, we're not the only ones that might have answers. Somebody else might have a little more information about that. If you do, I'd love to. Yes, no?
Hi. Okay.
Is that a hand? Wait, what? Do you? Hey, Christy, would you? Christy,
perfect.
is there any
There we
hope
go.
for changes with conservatorship? Woo!
So I didn't understand the whole question,
Oh,
but
got
I do know a little bit about
Please.
conservatorship just because that was a decision that we had to make.
Please.
And it's not something that I necessarily highly recommend or don't recommend. It's very personal and it's very situational. And we did make the decision to petition for conservatorship, and it is, I think, helped save his life, really. It was it was a last resort, but it was something that needed to be done, and it's been very useful, very, very often. And when he's doing well, it's as if he's not even conserved, because you don't need to use any of it. So it's not easy to do, and it's hard. It's hard as a mom to do that, but no, a lot of times we have to make decisions that are hard, but they're what's best for them. And so in our case, it was. And I'm hoping that at some point I won't be conservator. But so anyway, so I could talk to people.
Well, yeah, and maybe you could just give really briefly the process, really a brief process if somebody's not sure even what you're talking about.
So what I think in order to qualify, and I'm not positive on this, but there needs to be recent hospitalizations, I think like at least 2 in the last year or something like that. And it needs to be initiated by the doctor that is caring for them, and it's usually during a hospitalization. So you kind of, if it is something you're going to do, and hopefully you've been keeping documents and timelines of their history, and then there's a hospitalization, and you've decided that's what you're going to do, then you meet with the doctor and ask them to petition for it. And then it's kind of a process, and it goes through sort of not a trial, but a hearing, that's it. And then the judge will make the decision. And then the good thing about it is it's only for a year. So you have to reapply each year if you want to do it. And if you don't, then it's dissolved and they're not conserved anymore. So it's not like a life sentence or anything like that.
That's great. But that's a great, and that's one of the things, I'd love it if you would also maybe on even the paper that we have, like if you want to volunteer, you want for information, if there are particular topics, as we're kind of relaunching the Hope for Mental Health community, topics that you would love to hear about, things that would be really meaningful and helpful to you, you can just jot those down and leave that, on the table. Conservatorship would be, probably like one of those topics that people have interest in. Love to hear what you have to say about that. This is completely not related to the mental health world. Is what will my, Kay Warren, role be during retirement? And
Inquiring minds want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know. Pretty much a lot of the same of what I'm doing. That's one of the really great things about we're not moving, we're not going away, we're going to stay a part of Saddleback Church. I'm going to continue, carrying this ministry is on my heart, and so in some ways it will feel very seamless. You're going to see me doing all the things that I've been doing. So I'm anticipating in that way not much of an interruption. I get to keep serving and being with all of you in the ways that I love.
All right, let's see. So I love this question. This is one of the best ones out there. Hopefully you all wrote this. How do I become a support group leader?
Woohoo! Yes,
Right?
yes.
How can I apply? All right, that's
yay.
awesome. If you want to become a support group leader, on that page in the middle of the table, just write your name down. Say you want to be a support group leader, and then we will follow up with you on that. I know Rex will, who I introduced you to earlier, he's got his hand up there, and he'll get in contact with you and work on the process of setting that up and kind of walking you through all the pieces with it. So seriously, if you're interested in that, please let us know, and we're going to collect all of those and follow up with you. So it's exciting stuff. This is so great. So awesome. That's all you got?
That's
That's
it.
all. Okay,
Unless
let's see
there are
what
any
else I
others
got
that-
here. All right, yours.
The questions.
Another question here, and this is a tough one. Usually, is how can I get professional treatment if my insurance doesn't cover it? And that's I tell you that is a huge dilemma out there across the board. I know that therapists are overloaded right now, so that's another issue. And then trying to get that kind of care. There are some community resources, but again, a lot of times what will end up happening, if you're willing to see somebody who is getting their hours towards their licensure, that's usually a good way to do that. I think SIFT is one that, which is the Center for Integrated Family Therapy, I think, something like that.
Is that at Chapman? Is that the one at Chapman?
No, that's a Christian organization that's run. That's one place that I know they do that with interns. Chapman University has that's a good segue, has in their counseling program, you can see their students there for free. And so they're giving you hours, right? So they're doing therapy with you, right? But then it's also helping give hours to those pre-licensed folks. Again, there's a conception of, oh no, pre-licensed, I don't know, am I going to get the real deal here? Are they experimenting on me, right? What's going on? No, these aren't folks that like yesterday signed up for class and then said, all right, hey, let's just try my first class out on you, and all that kind of stuff. It's not that at all, right? These are folks that have been through all of the training already, okay? And they're doing hours, right? Supervised hours in there. So they've been educated, they're ready to go. There is really good care that was in there. I'm a licensed therapist. There was a time I was a pre-licensed therapist, right? And so I'd like to think that, what I did there was just as good as what I'm doing afterwards, right? Because that's how that works. So the work you get will be good, generally speaking, in that case. So don't let that discourage you. But those are two that I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, UCI as well. Okay, great. If anybody else has anything else, shout them out. We'll just make a list of them. That's perfect because. Yeah, there are therapists that do sliding scales, so there are some of those resources out there. You can ask, okay, and that's important. One of the things, just again, that is difficult in that, just to understand, is that a therapist, therapy rates are high at times, right? Some people just way overcharge, but they do have overhead and everything else, which makes it hard to slide into nothing, okay? But there are places where sometimes like SIFT, I know is one of those, where I think they'll do some things with donations that'll supplement. So there's a few places that will do that, but there's not enough. I can just tell you that right now. There's not enough. There's not enough therapists for the load that is out there right now. There's waiting lists all over the place for things like that. So some of these resources are good, and we'll work at collecting even more of those as we go along. To see if we can put those out there for you, but I'd say those are some of the resources that I know of. I don't know if you guys know of any. I didn't look over here because no. Okay, so that's one. And then let's see, make sure I got all of these. One I got was, are there any residential care facilities that can take someone with, in this case, it's a schizoaffective disorder, bipolar 2, someone that needs to be cared for, and so it's someone. So I know Be Well is one place that would handle it. Would Be Well, you want to speak to that, Christy, at all?
I do not want to misspeak to that.
You don't want to misspeak to that, okay.
I didn't know, are they looking for long-term residential, like a home, or just
yeah, so I'm not sure if it's long-term or not. It doesn't say.
So Be Well does offer residential.
Could you just describe what Be Well is? This is
yeah.
fascinating.
I'll let. Do you want to describe it? Or do you want me to describe it?
Well,
we're going to learn all about it next month.
We're going to learn about it next week.
Yeah, next month.
Actually, you know what? Let's lose that as a teaser. So next month.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
We'll have we have the founder of Be Well Orange County coming, which is it just like I said, if you've ever imagined or if you've ever been to a mental health space where they do inpatient stuff. You never know what you're going to get in that, and so a lot of times it's overcrowded. In Orange County, we have this movement called Be Well, which I think there'll be 3 centers eventually. We've got one in Orange that's already up and running. They're going to put one in Irvine next, and I'm not sure when that. Do you know when that's?
They're going to break ground later this year.
Okay, break ground this year on that, and then there'll be one more towards the coastal area, and. Like I said, seriously, having gone through this, it's like I want to dance in there when I go in there because it really is sort of a mental health clinic that I think Saddleback would build if we could build one. Just the way people are treated, the care, the thought to every single detail, down to colors in the place. They put all that thought into it, and people are treated well, like not just good, but super well in that whole process. And so we have, I think is he a founder? How would I say that? The head?
He's the CEO.
CEO of Be Well. He's going to come next week to talk about that and show you what that's all about and all the resources and things that are next month. Sorry, I'm all excited. I want to meet with you guys next week. Let's come on back.
Maybe he'll come next week.
Maybe you'll come next week too.
Yeah, let's go next week. But he'll come back and talk about that, and then we'll show how, again, be able to talk about how that is sort of the outside of things we do on the inside of Saddleback, how that just fits so nicely in the partnership that is going on there. And I think, Kay, you were a part of some of that on the board or whatever. And
A cheerleader.
Cheerleader, there you go. Well, that's good, because it got across the line, so that's what we needed. So anyway, so we'll talk about that next week. That's a good, I like that. Or next month. I know, what's wrong with me and calendars right now? I think I'm still on Atlanta time or something, I don't know. I saw somebody put their hand up.
I could talk to that person that as a child, I could see if they're looking for residential care afterwards just to see what their situation is, because that would be something similar.
Do you want to
do something
just
similar?
stand up for a second
Stand
and
up
make
for a
yourself
second so they can
visible?
see
So
you.
whoever asked that question,
Whoever asked that question,
she's willing to
She's been through
chat
something
with you
similar.
later. Yes. So whoever asked that. Great. Thank
Oh,
you.
there you go.
I love the
community, I love it.
popcorn help. It's great.
I love it, that's what we're here for. Well, that's all I got. Those are all the questions.
Yep.
That's great. Nobody said anything about my shirt or anything like that, so that's good. You never know. You get some of those sometimes. You never know. So, well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Anything else?
Just if you would like prayer,
Yeah.
prayer team, you guys just want to wave your hand back there.
Yeah,
if
where's
you
our prayer
would like
team out
to
there?
receive prayer today, these are folks who have a real
Back there in
heart
the corner.
for Jesus and for tender, compassionate hearts. Majida, you have some announcements, I'm thinking, or you're closing us. Okay, great. Any other announcements that I missed? We have the prayer team, the resource
Prayer team.
table. Oh, a question, sure.
I just want to say thank you, Kate, and Pastor Ray, for what they have been teaching me from these years. Because your programs and basic education, I've got to educate myself to help my daughter, because she tried to suicide herself twice. She's been trying herself for many years. But thank you, God.
Thank you.
She's still alive, and she's still,
That's great.
and now everything that I have learned here, we take to the community and around the world.
Thank you.
God has been good. I let God be God because I try not to be God as I can. And so I let him, I try to put my daughter in his hand. He's in my daughter's feet to his best.
I'm glad she's doing well.
that's
We're grateful for
great.
that. We're grateful for that. So prayer team, resource table, sign up for all kinds of things. Let us know your ideas for, future times together, and we will see you next month
Yep, that's right, next month.
in May.
I know.
And Majida's going to lead us, I think, in our closing prayer.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, friends, hi, my name is Majida. I have the privilege of serving here on staff at Saddleback. I'm a part of Kay's team, and I'm also part of the mental health ministry. It has just been such a joy getting to be with you guys together today, so let's pray. Father, wow, it has just been such a gift, just a joy and a gift being able to gather again together today. God, we thank you. We thank you so much. Just for the first time being able to be together and see each other face to face. For some of us, it's been 2 years. I'm just reminded of walking through those tent 3 doors 4 years ago with my husband for the first time, not entirely sure of what to expect. But what we found was a place where it was safe to struggle, a place where it was okay to not be okay. We found a community of people to belong to where we'd always walk away knowing that we weren't alone. And Father, that is our hope and our prayer today, that each and every person who's walked through these doors would have a sense that they belong here, that they are seen and loved by you, that we don't have to walk this road alone, and that there is hope. Thank you for our time together today, God. We just are so grateful, and we can't wait to be together again next month. In your precious name we pray, amen. Amen. Thank you all. Just a reminder, like
Thanks
Kay
for coming,
said,
guys.
we have an amazing prayer team in the back. Prayer team, could you guys stand up really quick back there? Yes, they would love to pray with you one-on-one. There's also a prayer card on your table. If you want to fill out a specific prayer request, you can give it to them. We have resources in the back, and we have Celebrate Recovery in the house. So be sure to go see them all back there. Thank you guys so much.
It's the moment.